Hello. Today I'm playing with a camera that was recently given to me. Fun. The technology of my childhood, right? Well, my name is Ian Currey and this is Thinking Out Loud. Come on. Let me tell you what I think. Every now and again I come across something that makes me wonder how we've progressed, moved on and forgotten about something that should have gone away a very long time ago. This camera was recently given to me. Actually, a lovely gift that I'll cherish. But the technology that goes with it is, well, let me show you. You may remember a couple of weeks ago I opened up a can of worms by saying that the first locomotive wasn't invented by Stephenson. Several people raised eyebrows at that, and a flurry of texts and email messages had me defending my statements. Ooh. Sometimes I can't trust the internet to get it right, but on that particular occasion I knew all about Trevithick and his 1802 contribution to the railway industry, despite what the internet claimed Stephenson was doing first. Or that, for that matter, Trevithick's locomotive was a couple of years later. Sometimes what we think we know just isn't so. No, Stephenson did not invent the first locomotive. Part of the problem, of course, is that there are no photographs going back that far to show what was going on. The first photographs came into being a little over 20 years later, so photographs of the first locomotive are just not available. That game I love of which came first simply doesn't work so well with the amazing quantity and confusion going on with things being invented there at the start of the 19th century. Please note, I did not say cameras were invented after the first locomotives. No, I said photographs came along much later. Cameras have been around for ages, until I understood what people were doing with them before film. The way of capturing images for the camera, I really wondered why cameras were a thing. Can you imagine? A smile please, hold it, click, yes, lovely. Can we see? No, you'll have to wait a few hundred years while someone invents a way of actually capturing the picture. I just had you pose for it, that's all. Sorry. Cameras were called camera obscuras back then, and really it would be very hard to show who invented the first one. Those go back at least to the 1st century before Christ, and probably a lot further. So how did they work? What was the point? I'll go out on a limb here and say that the first camera was discovered rather than invented. If you have a completely dark room and allow a tiny hole of light to be let in from the outside, the room becomes a camera. Light will stream through the little hole and project an upside down back to front image on the wall opposite the hole. The concept is described by a Chinese philosopher well before the time of Christ. Adding a lens and a mirror or two improves the idea, and these were in common use for hundreds of years. Portable versions even existed, and you'll probably have seen old cameras where the photographer threw a hood over his head to look at the image before taking a picture. There's a good example of a camera obscura in Edinburgh where you can go in and stand inside the camera and see an image of the city outside projected down onto a table from a lens in the roof. Cameras were used extensively to aid artists to draw. All they would have to do is set up a camera either inside or throw a hood over their head so that they could see the dim image and then trace what they saw. Once they had that drawing, they could take it home and colour it in. Cheating or not, a lot of early paintings appear to have been assisted in this way. Once film came along, the big issue wasn't waiting for the artist to colour in the pictures. It was waiting for the photographer to process the film. Do you remember 1 hour processing? There were places all over the place that did that. Some shops made a business out of it by just doing that and nothing else at all. But then there were once places that made a living renting movies out on videotape. Instant gratification has always been a thing, hasn't it? Eventually, a man called Edwin Land had an idea. And during the Second World War, he tinkered around with developing pictures as soon as they were taken. Instant pictures. He was instrumental in starting a company called Polaroid, which was a thing from 1948 way up until 2008. Of course, by then, technology had bypassed the idea of printing pictures on paper, and most of us carried phones in our pockets with all sorts of pictures stored on them. So how, after all this time, do these instant cameras still exist? Why are they a thing again? I mean, I can print pictures on paper without having an instant camera. I can go to all the trouble of taking a lovely picture, adjusting it to fit the paper, and messing about with it until I get it right. But pressing the button and watching the paper spit out of the camera and then seeing the image develop right there before my eyes is so much fun. Sometimes the reason that is still a thing is because it was a good idea and it's sometimes all we need. Just like the idea of instant pictures being so very simple once film came along, the idea of faith being stunningly simple once Jesus came along is there too. Before Christ, the rules and ways of doing things were in place, but you really didn't have anything tangible to hang on to. Just like Edwin Land giving us a just press the button, Jesus gave us something totally simple too. When Jesus was asked about the most important commandment, he simply said, "You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself." The entire law and all the demands of the prophets are based on these two commandments. You see, just as cameras developed, pun intended, and became very clever, complicated, and difficult to operate, so faith can sometimes get all tied up in religious practices too. Well, there certainly is a place for lovely cameras that take fantastic pictures. These simple instant cameras are just fine too. Having a faith based on all sorts of deeply held beliefs may be fine, if complicated to operate. But loving God and loving your neighbour is about as simple as it gets, and that can be totally rewarding and instantly gratifying. The wait for processing with theology isn't nearly as much fun as seeing a smile on your neighbour's face as they watch things develop. Until next time, goodbye.